I got a couple of emails here to go through, and I'll make it real quick. Number one is from Paul. He says, Justin, my name is Paul. I'm a veteran, and I've been watching for a year, and I find your channel very informative and now find myself in a position to buy a rig. I'm looking at both the BT Cruiser and the Dynamax Class Cs. They're both similar, and I'd appreciate any input. Thanks. Keep rocking in the free world. Paul, I've seen the Dynamax Class Cs that look a lot like the BT Cruiser Class C, like I'm sitting in right now. They're from what I can tell, they're very similar. I don't know much about their construction. I don't know whether they have the metal, the square tubing like the BT Cruiser has. I'm really not too sure. Here in Vancouver and BC specifically, you really don't see many of them around. I've seen a couple on the road, but they've had out-of-province license plates, not BC plates. So I guess they just didn't really take off where I am. But I don't know, man. You just got to go check it out and see if it's right for you. Another one I got is from Dan. He says, I saw your YouTube channel and it gave me some ideas. Thanks. I'm moving to Vancouver and was thinking about purchasing an RV to live in either permanently or temporarily. I've been looking at a few different RVs I've listed below to give you an idea of what I'm looking for. My main concern is having to move around every day to find a place to stay. These aren't too stealthy and some are maybe too big. If I work in the city, how far would I have to park my RV? How often do you think I'd have to move? Any advice for a newbie on what to watch or look for when buying an RV? Okay, I've taken a look. Hey kitty, you're always wanting the attention here whenever I'm doing a video. But you can't get outside now. All right, so maybe you're new to the channel. You say you're a newbie with the RV thing, but most cities have a length restriction. I've said this many times. My rig is just a tad over 21 feet, and that is the maximum. In fact, a foot shorter would be optimal. And I looked at all the ones you sent me. This one's way too big. This one's too big. Definitely too big. Okay. These are all well over 21 feet. You are not only going to have a hard time finding a place to park in the first place in the city, but you're also breaking the overlength bylaws in the city. So you're going to get ticketed and hassled and pushed around. You're not going to have to worry about moving every day because the city will take care of that for you, okay? You don't need that much space. This is the mistake I see all sorts of newbies make right off the bat. They buy a big rig because they think they need the space, and they always end up regretting it, and they end up moving down to a smaller rig. Now, in the circle of people that I know in Vancouver who are full-time RVers and van dwellers who've been doing this a long time like I have pretty much the biggest rig out of all of them, and some of them have looked at this and said this is just overkill. Like, this is too big. And honestly, I could be very happy in like my last motorhome was smaller than this. I could be very happy in a small road trek conversion, Class B, something like that. In having too much space, I used to have a 26-footer, a big Class A. Forget the parking issues, but it was just too much space. I always put a divider up to block off half the motorhome, and I felt more comfortable in the back that way. But what do I need all that space for? You'll realize real quick that you don't need the space. If you're going to downsize from a house or an apartment to a 27-foot RV, going down to a 20 or 21 is not going to make that much of a difference. Especially if it's just you and one other person. You don't need that much space. But you know what? Don't take my word for it. Go ahead, buy the big rig, get pushed around, get hassled, and realize that you're just hauling around all this extra weight for junk that you probably really don't need. Once you start getting rid of stuff in your life, you'll be so much happier. That's what minimalism is all about, really. And yeah, I'm a little bit extravagant with this motorhome, and this is more than I need. I admit that openly. I definitely didn't need to get something quite this big, but I definitely wouldn't get any bigger than this, I'll tell you this. But anyways, the last one that you sent me, all right, the Glendale. This one here is about the same length. It's a 21-footer. You could get away with parking that somewhat easily in the city. It does not look stealth though, like you said. Like I would de-stripe it, I would clean it up, and just make it look good, make sure it's in good shape, and then you get less hassles. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Being stealth means not being an eyesore. It doesn't matter if you look like an RV. That's irrelevant. There's RVs everywhere. But if you look like a piece of crap RV on the side of the road and you look like you're squatting there, you will get lots of hassles, and that's what you want to avoid. As far as like, if you're going to get a big rig though, like a much bigger than a city size one that can fit into a metered parking spot, if you're going to get a bigger one, part of your question was how far out of the city would you have to drive? I don't know. I have no idea where you'd be. The city's big. Metro Vancouver is 12 cities or something like that. It's a whole bunch of cities. Are you talking about actually in the city of Vancouver, downtown? Because you're not even going to park a camper van down there. Forget it. So I mean, you look for industrial areas, look for businesses that are closed at night and there's nobody around. Those are the best places to park, and make sure you're out of there before everyone else gets there to park their cars and work in those businesses in the morning, and then you won't draw attention to yourself and you won't get hassles. And if you need to park out in the suburbs, if you find somewhere nice to park where you can leave it during the day, you can always take transit into wherever it is you have to work. Yeah, that's the best advice I can give you, man. I have no idea your situation, where you're going to work, and all the rest of that. That's something you have to figure out on your own. All I can say is there are thousands of streets in Metro Vancouver. You just drive around till you find a nice, quiet place to pull over. Just don't park in front of people's houses, and please move around every day or two. Otherwise, it just makes it harder on all of us. All right, keep on rocking the free world.
Greetings and welcome to Just Incredible TV News. Tonight, we echo a nomadic anthem from van dwellers and full-timers throughout North America. That's right. Keep on rocking in the free world. Good night, be safe, and be well.